Personal AI assistant devices have been released on the market, and despite the hype that follows AI, these products have not been able to find the kind of traction that they expected. But what's causing this? I feel there are 7 critical errors that these products are making, and in this video, we're going to dive in and find out what they are. But we're product designers. We're not going to stop at just pointing out the flaws, but we're also going to find out what the right solution ought to be. This is going to be a fun ride. Come on, let's go figure this out. Hi, my name is Sharan, and if you're new to this channel, well, you're in good company because this is a brand new channel. I've headed a UX design agency, which has been ranked among the top 100 in the world. And we work with enterprises like Discovery Channel, as well as startups with major impact in society like Lenskart and Urban Ladder. I started this channel to share some of my learnings and experiences that I've gained over time. But I don't want to approach this like a course. I want to take real world problems and approach it as I would in my everyday projects. And I hope that will be much more useful to you than a list of 10 things to remember in your everyday work. Today's story is about exactly such a problem. It's current, it's the need of the hour, and it's a fantastic problem to solve. And I hope you like it. So let's begin by defining the problem and the brief correctly. So we are talking about designing AI assistants. These are not the Siri and the Google Assistant that exist on our smartphones today. These are assistants that are capable of going out and executing tasks on our behalf. So they need to be able to take a goal from the user and break it down into several tasks and then execute each of these tasks on their own. So they might have to run other applications, do web searches, and in some cases even be writing programs in order to achieve the goal of the user. That is going to be our product brief today. I believe this is actually targeted at a niche audience right now, but it is eventually meant to be used by everyday users. So if we were to plot ourselves against the innovation adoption lifecycle, we'll squarely be in the early adopters phase. Typically, what happens in this phase is that the product or the technology is trying to find its application in a number of different niches. And that's not any different from what's happening right now. AI is being applied in almost any and every niche possible, including this Samsung fridge. But this is typical of this phase. And it is also the way in which these products have found an application. Somebody is thought to take AI models and apply them on hardware devices. And that's how these products were born. Most products in this phase are trying to find what the right feature set is, right price point, right target audience. These are what you call the product market fit. That is what is happening here as well. That's why there's such a variation among all the various products that we're going to actually examine today. So this phase is the equivalent of the Cambrian explosion phase of life. You'll see the greatest amount of variations of products during this phase because they're all trying to find which one works, which one doesn't. A lot of products will actually die off after this phase, and a product that is best suited for this particular niche will exist post this. So that is what you will see with all the products that we are going to examine today. They are all trying to achieve the objective of trying to find out what AI can do as personal assistants. But each of them have approached things in a very different way. This is also the reason I love this phase the most, because not only are the variations so great, but it also requires a lot of creativity and ingenuity in order to try and figure out this problem. As a product designer, version 1 products are extremely exciting, simply because you're traveling in uncharted waters and you've got to figure this out while you're in the sea. Just taking a quick detour, version 1.0 products have a special place in my heart, and because it requires such a great deal of creativity. But ironically, The time when most amount of creativity could be used is actually not the time when startups are able to hire external agencies to do the work for them. Most startups do this work on their own internally, and once the product market fit is kind of established, or they have a reasonable what do you call it, perspective on what is required, that's when they actually are able to afford the external design agencies, bring them on board and help them grow. So growth stage companies are typically hiring external design agencies. So let's begin by examining the first product on our list. I'm going to go chronologically based on the dates they released because it kind of indicates the level of evolution they've also gone through at the same time, or should have gone through. The first on our list is the Meta Ray-Ban glasses. Now, this is one of the products that has had runaway success. I think these glasses were initially released to be just photo capture devices. This was so that you could capture photos and post them straight on to Insta. Uh, that is where this product actually began its evolution. Then they've added speakers and also included the Llama, very capable Llama model onto these devices. So you can get quick information, you can make AI do some calculations for you, bring up some general knowledge answers and such, which has been found to be extremely useful to some people, but not so useful that they always wear these glasses. I think the inherent problem that exists with glasses is that not a lot of people want to wear them. And when it's sunglasses, it's not a lot of people that want to wear them all the time, in the night or and indoors. I think there's just a special kind of person with a certain what do you call it, ability to pull this off that can wear this at night indoors. But that's not everyone. So a lot of people don't find a need to wear these sunglasses all the time. So a lot of people find that to be the limitation for the glasses. But the build quality and the charging methods and all that is extremely great and very natural. You put the sunglasses within the carrying case, and the carrying case is the one that charges up the device. I think that bit of engineering has been really good. However, I think this product also lacks a screen. So the feedback mechanism or the answers are always kind of like emitted through the speakers. And the questioning is also done only via voice. So you can only ask questions by speaking it out loud, whether you're in the presence of other people that might hear you. That's a concern that remains. And also, information delivery is not the most efficient when it comes through auditory methods because it's sequential. So if you were able to see the information delivered as an image, you can scan it much faster and also get this much more privately. So those are the benefits that are lost based on this. But interestingly, the next version of the glasses are rumored to have a screen on the glasses as well. So that would actually qualify this as an AR device, and I think that's generally a good direction to go in. There are other limitations, but we'll come to that. Then comes the Humane AI Pen. This company was actually established back in 2018. It took 5 years of development for this company to even release its first product in 2023. This product is actually run by a company called Humane. Humane had raised about $240 million. This is the confirmed amount which is out there in the news. But they've actually raised $240 million in order to produce this product. I think back in 2018, this seemed like a much more futuristic product. But in today's time, when there are several other competitors, this doesn't seem like such a lofty vision anymore. And that has been a great failing of this company. Even the product that was released has literally enabled only ChatGPT to be accessed via this device, and in a much more degraded form than if it existed if you used your smartphone with ChatGPT applications on it. So this company has received a lot of flack for it, but let's talk about the positives as well. The form factor has been great, they should be applauded for that. The design aesthetic is very sleek and very futuristic at the same time. And I think the fact that the founders have been ex-Apple employees has kind of like played a role, because this feels like as if it belongs within the Apple ecosystem. Other things to like about the product is the fact that you can wear it on your t-shirt and it's extremely accessible. The problem is that it has these magnets that you need to place behind the t-shirt, and most of the time you got to put your hand inside your t-shirt and kind of mess around with it in order to get the positioning right. I find that to be the most awkward aspect to this. A clip, I think they ship with a clip, but or you purchase it separately. I'm not exactly certain. A clip would have been a much better solution to the problem. The other downside to the device is that it is extremely heavy. So if you were to wear it on a t-shirt, you'll see it kind of like sag. So most of the ads they show are actually with people wearing thicker jackets and having the device placed on that. The other aspect going for this device is the fact that it's tap to talk. So it's very accessible, and I can just press a button, say what I want, and release, and it'll give me my feedback. That simple action is actually missing on some of the other devices that we'll see. Among the list of things to dislike is actually, in my opinion, the product management team. In the first version that they released, it felt like a very rushed out release, and I think that shows because a lot of the products have started being returned as well. The second thing they absolutely messed up, botched in a big way, is the price point. $699 for the device, plus accessory costs, and there's a subscription on a monthly basis. Who their target audience was for this particular device, I'm not sure, but if they're only delivering what ChatGPT does out of the box, it's not sufficient to justify the expense. The other additional downside to this is the power management, and you got to keep swapping out batteries twice through the day is what people have indicated. But the worst feature, in my opinion, is the projection. I think they knew they needed to provide a way to provide visual feedback. So the way they conquered it is cleverly using projection technology. There's a small projector within this device which actually can project onto your palm an interface that needs to be operated. But the awkward thing is the fact that you had to learn these specific commands or ways to kind of like interact with this particular interface. So you're kind of like bending your palm and distorting the interface that has been projected, and you're doing these specially learned actions in order to perform them. This is extremely unnatural, and I don't think this was the best way to solve this problem. The projector is also one of the elements that actually makes this device hot while it's being used. So overall, I don't think this was the right direction, and the costs outweigh the benefits in this particular regard. The next on the list is the Rabbit R1, which got released in January 2024 during the CES product showcase. The product demo was top notch. I think they really grabbed everybody's attention with this product launch, and the way the product was featured, it was able to perform all these various functions on behalf of the users. It didn't seem like science fiction because they actually gave a reason how they could actually perform this by introducing what is called the large action model. The idea is that this device will receive the commands and then send the instruction to the server where this large action model is running, and there would be this so-called remote control operator who would open up the application interface and actually press the buttons like a user would and perform the actions that the user is requesting. This seems like a good idea theoretically, but the minute this product was actually launched in May, I think you got a lot of people providing feedback saying that this doesn't work. In fact, Rabbit themselves actually released with only 4 products available, which is I think Uber, DoorDash, Spotify, and one additional product. And not all of those products also work correctly. So what they touted was a vision of any and every application that can be used will be used by the LAN on behalf of the user. but what they actually delivered was just about three products that work and work intermittently. The response time that they showed during the product demos, they also claimed was not sped up, but the commands were issued and the responses came back within about 400 milliseconds, making it feel very responsive and very natural. The other good thing this product had going for it is the fact that it had a screen. And the product itself was actually packaged in this bright orange and had this design aesthetic, which was engineered by Teenage Engineering as a group. I think they have a certain sensibility for the products they design, and they brought it to the Rabbit R1. But I think they also went too far with it by introducing a scroll wheel when none was required. They, in fact, forced it so much into the user interface that they have a back button at the very top of any list where you need to scroll to in order to click the side button in order to go back. This is all while keeping in mind that the screen is actually a touch enabled interface. They disabled the touch in order for the scroll wheel to work, and now that is just poor UX. Not only from the fact that you have to use a scroll wheel, but the fact that you allow touch in certain circumstances but not in other circumstances. If touch is enabled for certain aspects of the application, touch should be enabled for all aspects of the application. You cannot tell a user that you can't use touch in these circumstances, you can use touch in these circumstances. That's just not good UX. So this is where I think somebody with a certain sensibility went too far in enforcing that within this product's interaction model. I feel this is one of those moments where you're seeing the inexperience of a certain designer being exhibited. I've seen a lot of designers who kind of like, hold on to this one idea and kind of find a way to apply that everywhere. And it typically fails. And that needs to be avoided. And this product, having exhibited exactly that proclivity, shows that this is built by somebody who's not very experienced. The final problem that this product has exhibited is the amount of round trip times that it takes. So the user utters a question, and that question is kind of like taken and sent to the server to be interpreted, because there's nothing really running on this particular device. The server takes its own time, puts it in the queue in which it gets it, processes that request, and then sends the appropriate response back. That response is then uttered by the device which is on hand with the user. The device is doing literally nothing until that response comes back. And many times you've seen users actually utter something, they don't get a response from the server, so the interface just resets and acts like as if nothing was even said. Now that's poor UX. It would be much better if there was a local AI running on this device, but we'll come to this. The next item on the list is the limitless pendant. Most of you who may know of the limitless pendant would find it surprising to be on this list, because it is meant to take notes during meetings and remember things on behalf of the user and provide summaries at the end of the day. But if you actually look at the product roadmap video that the founders have put out, you'll see that these same devices are headed to become AI agents for users in the future. I think this is an admirable approach given the product landscape, because a lot of other products which are actually painting this vision of being these AI assistants are hardly delivering that out of the box today. In fact, a lot of people who have bought the Rabbit R1 are actually following videos on YouTube which shows you how to flash Android on it and have it be more useful than the actual AI assistant that was promised on the R1. At least the Limitless guys are doing a solid job of doing meeting notes out of the box today. And they're only promising additional features down the road. But another clever thing that these guys are doing is the fact that they are taking this conquer this particular niche first and then expand kind of approach. If anybody's read 0 to 1, this is exactly what the author, Peter Thiel, talks about. He talks about monopolizing a particular niche and then expanding to the adjacent niches. I think that's the right way to build a startup anyway. The fact that they are being productive and useful right out of the box is an admirable quality. And I think they'll benefit from having loyal customers who see that their initial investment was worth it. Plus, when they see new features being released on that same platform, they see even more value at that particular point in time. Among the list of things that this device actually requires still is the fact that it doesn't have a screen. The way they are circumventing this need for a screen is by treating it like an accessory at the moment. So the smartphone is actually the primary device which has the screen. But eventually, when it gets into being an agent, I think it will require a screen at that point. An additional issue is their focus on consent by the other party that is getting recorded over here. Another challenge that I anticipate is going to be in their roadmap is the fact that they have such a high focus on consent and privacy of the user. Both of these things sound like good things to have, obviously, but these are going to become problems for applications that require seamless access to this data. For instance, if I am having a conversation with somebody and I say, what is he talking about, for example? Give me more information about what he's saying. This search will not be conducted by this agent. Those kinds of use cases are going to become a challenge with the limitless pendants approach. And the final challenge that I anticipate with the limitless pendants approach is the fact that they're maintaining all their data about the user or the user's data itself is going to be maintained on a private cloud. Similar kind of branding that Apple has been using. The problem with this approach is that this data is going to be maintained somewhere else, not on device or not owned by this particular user. That is going to be a huge challenge for anybody to adopt, especially when such powerful information about a user is being maintained by somebody else. And the final product that we'd like to review today is the O1 Lite by the Open Interpreter project. This is an open source project that has been running for a while now, and it's an extremely interesting approach to the solving of the problem. Their approach to this solution is to have the software run on the individual's computers, their laptops, and have it be accessible through the use of this particular handheld device. The device is only going to take instructions, voice instructions, and provide voice feedback. So the same problem as some of the other devices on our list. However, this entire application will be run by the user, and any data that is required will only be owned by this particular user. They do have a service which is going to run optionally on the cloud, but you're not required to use it. So this is another interesting approach to solving this problem. However, it's an open source project and it comes with all the frailties of open source, which is there's going to be constant development, and you might be required to be a little technical to install these applications and have it function for you. It is a great do-it-yourself kind of project, but if it was to go the commercial route, they would have to focus heavily on the ease of use, installation, and such. And I'm sure the team is kind of thinking about it from that perspective. This device also requires a screen, and I think eventually they will get to that place. However, very interestingly, they are also talking about the way computing is going to change in the future. So they are calling it the new kind of computer that they are inventing. And I can see the thread and the points that lead to that particular place. However, there are several challenges along the way before we reach that reality. Another interesting approach they have is to talk about it from the perspective of a universal interface. And this is also very interesting and has a lot of similarities with the large action model of Rabbit R1. I think we are going to get to this place where we are just going to issue commands to our agents and they're just going to go out and perform these tasks. It could be even day-to-day tasks like, process this Excel sheet and send it to so-and-so right after that. And it can actually go about performing all these tasks. You'll in fact see such a reality painted by the founders of this project in their demo video. It's really cool and I highly recommend you watching it. All right, that's the analysis of the existing products out there in the market. I hope you've seen some of the patterns that have been kind of playing out across all the products. You're seeing some commonalities and also some problems that I've been highlighting along the way. In my opinion, the right approach to building personal AI assistant devices is to have the following 7 qualities integrated. Number one, I think one of the most important aspects to this is to have the right metaphor, the right perspective on what you're building. It is not a productivity device, as a lot of people might have approached. It is a personal AI assistant. It is to perform tasks on behalf of the user. And I've often seen the wrong model or the wrong metaphor being used to approach a particular project. In my perspective, finding the right metaphor is extremely important. And what I mean by a metaphor is something new is related to something old and understood through this mechanism. So I'm a big believer of evolution, not revolution, especially when it comes to mass market products. I think it's easier to convince somebody when you say this is like that, but different in this way, rather than to introduce a completely alien product and put it in front of users. I think the second approach finds lesser adoption than the first. So that's why I think finding the right metaphor is an extremely important step. The second most important quality is reachability. If you plot on a graph or the development of the computers and the form factors over time, you'll go from the desktop to the laptop to the tablet to the smartphone to wearables, right? So this is the direction it has gone in. Another way to kind of like see the same plot is that it's getting closer and closer and more accessible to the user over time. I think personal AI assistant devices need to occupy that space between the smartphone and the user today. It has to be a wearable because the user has to be able to access it at the moment that they absolutely think of doing anything. That is the space to occupy. And the more reachable the product is, the better it is for the user to learn a new behavior as well. Yes, it is a new behavior that the user has to learn to completely just think in terms of goals rather than to think in terms of applications which they need to open in order to achieve the goal. It is a new behavior and it's going to be challenging for the users to learn as well. The third quality that this device needs to have is multimodal input and outputs. So, as I explained before, information delivery over images is much faster than using audio-only interfaces. Though voice commands issued to devices will continue to exist because voice commands are just easier, more natural, and more efficient sometimes than any other forms of input. Especially when there are multiple steps involved, it's easier to just string all these commands together and just issue it as a single sentence command. Another hugely important aspect is related to privacy. AI has the downside of making it extremely easy even for people who want to extract useful data from users. So this aspect is going to be critical to get right. You can clearly see that there's going to be a huge amount of data regarding the user and their preferences going to be generated in the future. And this data is going to become extremely important for the AI models to actually perform their actions based on the user's preferences. But AI's downside is also the fact that it makes surveillance extremely simple for those that want to do it. So guarding this data is going to become extremely important in the future, more so than it ever has been. So any device manufacturer who wants to store this data on behalf of the user is actually taking on a huge responsibility at the same time, and they need to realize that. The best way to protect data is to not get that data, as Dr. Anne Kavoukian of Canada has mentioned many times before. So for this, I like Open Interpreter's approach to solving this problem, which is to have the model actually exist on the user's device and actually run from there. There's another benefit to actually having these AI models running locally on these devices, which is the immediacy aspect. And that is the next point that I wanted to highlight. It is important to hit the Doherty threshold, which is about 400 milliseconds. That will actually end up making interactions with these devices very natural. If you adopt an architecture which has the AI models running on a server somewhere, there's going to be round trips that are going to have to be performed. And that is going to take some time, regardless of the best systems that are functioning out there. There will be high throughput times and low throughput times, but the performance cannot degrade between these two times. And the user experience has to remain exceptional at all times. And the best way to achieve this is to have the AI model running locally on these devices. And the next point is about interoperability. And it's important for these device manufacturers to understand that there's a new computing model that is being developed here. Humans and computers are going to interact very differently than they ever had before. So the way computing is going to happen in the future is going to be goal based, and the applications are just going to be tools in order to achieve that. The primary interface with the digital world is going to be through these agents in the future. So these personal AI assistant devices need to be able to use the current existing computing model and also allow the user to migrate to this new future model as well. This leads us to our final point about universal interfaces. Like I mentioned, these personal AI devices are going to become the primary way that anything digital is going to be accessed by these users. Sometimes the responses that come in from the personal AI assistants have to actually be generated on an ad hoc basis. So these devices also need to keep in mind that these user interfaces need to be generated as per the needs of the user at that particular moment in time, depending on the request. So if I'm asking for an Uber to be booked to get me to my next meeting, it may require a clarification of the location that I'm to go to, and that confirmation might come in the form of a map. Whereas in another circumstances, if I'm asking for a song to be picked and it's a choice between two songs that have the same name, it might just be a list which I need to pick from. And that interface needs to be generated at that particular point in time. So these devices also need to be able to create these user interfaces on the fly. So finally, you can see that the best form factor is something that exists between the smartphone and the user. So it has to be a wearable of some kind. Until the point we get to with the neural link like interfaces that directly interface with our brains, this is going to be the closest we can get to the user and achieve the highest reachability. So in my opinion, it has to be like a smartwatch because it also requires a screen facing the user. So it cannot be something like the human AI pin, which is facing outwards, nor can it be the R1's approach where the device actually is in the pocket of the user or left behind at home, which is typically what's happening with the R1 today. Nor can it be a voice only kind of interface like the Limitless Pendant or any of the other devices, the O1 Lite, for example. Because the screen is going to be absolutely crucial. So for all these reasons, the form factor of the smartwatch is the best one to go with. Of course, it'll require an additional camera to be attached onto the smartwatch so that you can point it at things and say, what is this, for example, and it'll understand through the context of what it's looking at to find the right answer for the user. Today's smartwatches may be underpowered to run AI models, but there are two things happening at the same time. Chip technology is becoming better and better and smaller and more power efficient. And at the same time, AI models are becoming smaller and more capable of being run on low power devices like the smartwatches we have today. And both of these arcs are going to converge at some point, which is going to enable these kind of smartwatches to exist in the future. So which of these products are going to make it in the future? Well, none of them at the moment, but some are closer to finding the right solution than others. But let's address the elephant in the room. AI models are good when they have access to a lot of data about the user. Who has the most amount of data about users today? It's not these small companies. And it's definitely not going to be some new software that I install tomorrow that's going to learn most about me. I'd bet that Google, Microsoft, and Meta have more information about users than many other companies combined. Even the recent infusion of AI onto all of the Windows lineup of laptops makes it possible for Microsoft to develop that kind of intelligence about its users. But it's definitely not any of these smaller companies that are currently fighting for this spot here. Look, don't get me wrong. I love to root for the little guy. I cheer for the underdog all the time. But the fact remains that AI is powered by data, and the entity or the organization that has that data is going to win in this particular race. I'm not sure why so much money has been poured behind these particular devices. I think the intention is to find an exit to one of these larger companies in the future. But will they succeed on their own? I don't think so. In addition, I spoke about the development of the new human computer interface that is actually happening in the background. So it actually becomes imperative that this kind of personal AI assistant will exist on operating systems because that's the most efficient layer to exist on. Otherwise, you're going to deal with a ton of problems caused by these application developers against any third party that is going to operate something like a LAN in order to use the application on behalf of the user. There's even another aspect to consider, which is that the user themselves may not be comfortable sharing passwords and other payment related information with third party applications developed, such as the LAM or the Open Interpreters software project. And that's a huge hurdle, and I don't see that actually happening. So, one of the ways I measure whether a project is likely to succeed or not is by asking myself one simple question: would I invest in this particular project? Would I put my own money behind it? And the clear answer for me in this particular instance, given the headwinds and such, is that I wouldn't. I wouldn't put my money behind any of these projects. Their chances of succeeding is super slim. These kind of devices will come to exist, and I'm gonna bet that they're gonna be smartwatches, but they're going to be developed by the operating system and phone manufacturers that exist today. And those will succeed as products in the future as well. So that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed geeking over this topic with me. I completely enjoyed working on this video and putting it all together, and I hope you gained something from it. The next video that I'm working on is got to do with Web3 wallets, but I'm kind of like viewing it from the lens of the Wayne Gretzky quote: go to where the puck is going to be, not where it is. And I hope you'll come back and see how that whole thing has been interpreted. So until next time, hasta luego.